Good afternoon, everyone. So today I am going to start CMA final indirect tax classes. CMA final, your paper number in new syllabus, it is 19, correct? So paper number 19, CMA syllabus 2022. There are two parts in CMA final indirect taxes. Section A, basically Goods and Service Tax Act along with the rules, also along with notification, because you also need to understand the notification and various circulars issued by CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes. So section A, basically part 1, weightage in the exam is 70% and the 30% related to Custom Act and rules. Along with this, you also need to remember FTP, foreign trade policy. So basically, if you would like to get the exemption, remember you need to focus more on GST, and trust me, GST is very easy, very much conceptual. You are going to connect easily the GST provision with your daily life. Okay, so it is very easy to connect. So 70% basically IDT, 70% GST and 30% custom plus FTP, you can say. Okay, so you can see here 30% custom act and rules. So it is also going to include export promotion scheme under foreign trade policies and other provisions. In case of CA final, this is basically, these classes are specifically for CMA final, but if someone would like to watch CA final student also, they can see, because the tax provision remains same. So they have the weightage of 75% in respect of GST and 25% custom plus FTP. Okay, so this is the gap between the CA final and CMA final. So CMA final 70% GST, 30% custom plus FTP, and in case of CA final 75% GST, custom plus FTP 25%. So section A, basically part 1, is related to hot topic. This is very hot topic since 2017 when GST was introduced in India. GST, okay, and you are going to enjoy understanding GST provisions, trust me. So I am going to explain you provision in detail along with whatever interlinking required with various provision. I am going to do that. That is my responsibility. What is your responsibility? Your responsibility is to revise and go in exam, write the answer and get the exemption mark. Okay, so section A GST, basically very interesting, and you can easily connect with daily life. In fact, I am going to explain you most of the provisions with examples, so don't worry about that. The examples are real life, so you can easily connect. Section B, custom and FTP. So first we are going to complete GST 100% syllabus. We are going to complete GST. Then we are going to take custom, and then finally we are going to take foreign trade policy, in short FTP. FTP is not the tax law, it is the policy. It is the policy document. Whereas the GST and the custom duties, these are the tax law, and GST and custom are basically indirect tax law. Although I know that you people already have, okay, in intermediate, but chapter 1 I am just going to take some basic concept of GST, so that whatever you understood in inter, you can say it is just a revision. Okay, so to connect with your inter syllabus, I am going to take few concept. Okay, second thing, I'm in these classes, I'm going to assume that you have very limited knowledge or no knowledge about the GST. So even if you are taking GST classes first time, no issue at all, because I am going to assume that you don't have any prior experience, prior knowledge of GST. So don't worry about this. So to get the exemption marks, you need to focus 100% on GST and 100% on custom and FTP. Sir, that we are going to focus, I know, but later on people, mainly students, they normally ask me, sir, can you give us ABC analysis? So there is no ABC analysis in case of indirect taxes. Although you are going to see in the book index itself ABC analysis, but don't follow that, just ignore that if you would like to get the exemption part. Remember, IDT is very small compared to direct taxes. You can easily score exemption marks, and IDT is going to help you to get the aggregate. So IDT you need to complete 100%, so that you get the exemption marks and you get the aggregate. And trust me, it is very easy. Direct tax is ocean. Direct tax is ocean. Indirect taxes are very small compared to direct tax syllabus. So you have to do IDT indirect taxes 100%, so that you get the exemption marks and IDT help you to get aggregate. Once you get the exemption marks, remember, aggregate is very easy for you people. Now, what is the difference between the indirect tax and direct tax? I know you people would have read in the intermediate, but can someone tell me, you can use the chat window, and can someone tell me what is the difference between the indirect tax, direct tax? Remember, don't be technical. Answer in simple language, so any new person can understand that what is the gap between indirect tax, direct tax. I don't need definition. Anyone, please tell me in simple language, what is the difference between the indirect taxes, direct taxes? In very simple language, you are explaining to a person who is going to understand first time direct tax, indirect tax. So explain in that language, maybe only in one sentence. I am waiting for your answer. So the question is, direct tax versus indirect tax. So first answer I got, direct tax is on income and indirect taxes is on expense. Another student said, indirect tax burden cannot be shifted to other person, but direct tax burden cannot be shifted to other person, and but indirect taxes burden can be shifted. Okay. Impact, another answer, impact on incidence on same person in direct tax. Direct tax incident on SSC and in IDT is basically on consumer. Okay. So most of you people answer correctly, okay, but if you try to explain to a layman, it may be difficult for him or her to understand. Okay, so let stop here. Now I am going to tell you. Okay, so see, you are not wrong. I am not telling you are wrong. There is a way to explain, that's all. My approach is different, your approach is different. Someone would like to understand in detail, someone would like to know just a crux of the matter. Okay, so let me explain. Direct tax, which is basically levied directly on the person. I'm not going to go in the definition of person. Okay, so direct tax is basically levied directly on the person. So that person supposed to pay directly to the government. Direct. Everything is direct. Like income tax. Income is going to be levied on, let's say, my income. So I am going to pay from my pocket. I am accruing income. I am going to pay income tax. So it is going to pinch me because I am going to pay from my pocket and I am aware that I am paying income tax. So it's normally pinch the person. So direct tax is going to be levied directly on the person. So that's why direct tax normally pinch. But indirect tax is not levied on the person, it is levied on the goods or services. So like we buy on daily basis goods or services. Let's say you are buying classes, you are buying insurance services, example. You are buying biscuit, you are buying bread, butter, all these are goods, correct? So when you buy, you pay one amount to the seller. So that seller is going to collect the consideration from you, whatever consideration or whatever is the selling price. Along with that, that seller is also going to collect indirect taxes. So you are going to pay him and he or she, the seller, is going to deposit to the government treasury. The buyer is not directly depositing to the government treasury. Although you are paying, the buyer is paying, but you are paying to the seller and seller is going to deposit to the government treasury. So that's why it is indirect taxes. It is not going to pinch. It is, of course, the knowledgeable people like you people, it is going to pinch you because when you see the GST amount or any other indirect tax amount, it is going to pinch you because you have the knowledge. But the common people who don't know much about the taxation, it is not going to pinch them. But direct tax pinch everyone. Because direct tax, person directly pay from the pocket to the government treasury, whereas indirect taxes, person pay to the seller and seller is going to deposit. So that's why it is called indirect tax. Okay. So in these classes, we are going to understand indirect taxes, two types of indirect taxes, GST and custom duty, both are indirect taxes. Foreign trade policy is not tax, it is policy. That time when we are going to discuss foreign trade policy, that time I am going to explain you in detail. So that is not the tax, indirect taxes, it is policy. So let's start with the first topic, basically first part of your syllabus. Part 1, section E, GST, goods and services tax, hot topic for last 5 years in India. So you may be reading news related to GST and you may be thinking, what is this? You may not be enjoying those news. Why you are not enjoying? Because sometimes you don't have sufficient knowledge to understand the topic. So after these classes, you are going to have 100% knowledge. So you are going to enjoy. In fact, you are going to give your advice also. Okay. So let's start. Part 1, Section A, basically Goods and Services Tax Act. So in this section A, we are going to discuss provisions related to GST, and we are going to discuss in detail because you people should have expert knowledge. So I am going to explain you all the provisions, and wherever interlinking required of various provisions sections, I am going to do that. You just need to follow me. And at the time of classes, don't see your book. Just focus on the class. Okay, keep your book in the drawer itself. No need to see the book. Okay, so let us start GST with chapter 1, GST in India and introduction. In this chapter, we are going to cover overall structure of GST, body of GST law. Along with this, we are going to discuss selected definition under section 2 of CGST Act 2017. Selected definition under section 2 of IGST Act 2017. But before taking these definitions, you need to understand what is CGST Act, what is IGST Act, what is basically body of GST law. Because if we directly jump to Act, you may not enjoy, you may not be able to understand 100%. So first we need to understand the structure of GST, body of GST law. Then we are going to jump to the definition. And trust me, definition you are going to enjoy. So normally, because definition you normally read in company law also, direct tax also, income tax basically. But here you are going to enjoy. Okay. So overall structure of GST. See, implementation of GST, it is said that this was the historical move and significant indirect tax reform in the history. Why it is called significant indirect tax reform? Why it is called significant indirect tax reform? So to understand this, we need to go in the era in which there was no GST, there were other taxes. So what was happening before GST, that we need to discuss first, so that we can understand that why it is called significant reform in indirect taxes. Before GST, what used to happen? So you people are familiar with this map. This is India map. So prior to GST, according to the constitution provision, previous provision, indirect taxes used to be levied by central government as well as state government. Okay. So when any goods used to be manufactured, so there was previously separate act for goods and services. So before GST, what used to happen? Central government used to levy on goods one indirect tax called excise duty. Excise duty was on manufacturing of goods. So central government used to levy excise duty on goods, and excise duty was on manufacturing of goods. After manufacturing, when these goods used to enter into the trading, state government used to levy VAT. Okay. Apart from state government, you people may be aware there are local bodies also, like municipality, panchayat. So municipal local authority used to levy entry tax in the form of local body tax, LBT, or octroi. You would have seen in your city, if you are living in city, Chungi Naka. Okay, so Chungi Naka is basically to levy octroi. So if we talk about goods, So central government used to levy excise duty on manufacturing of goods. After the manufacturing, these goods, whatever manufacturer manufactured, used to come for the trading. So on trading of the goods, there was VAT. So state government used to levy VAT. The story does not complete here. So state government used to levy VAT, and in that state, let's say there is a municipality used to levy entry tax in the form of LBT or octroi. So see, one goes different type of indirect taxes. Now why they were separately levying and collecting? Very simple. See, center government has different set of responsibility and power. State government different set of responsibility and power, and local body also. India federal structure. So Constitution of India used to empower them to levy indirect taxes. Okay, you would have seen Article 246 along with the schedule. List 1, list 2, list 3. So center government had different set of responsibility. That's why they need income, revenue, so that they can incur expenses like defense come within the purview of central government. Various other things also come in within the purview of central government. So these are the expenses. So to incur the expenses, they need income. So indirect taxes are important source of income for central government as well as state government and local body. So to fulfill their responsibility, they need income. So that's why Constitution of India empower them to levy taxes. So prior to GST, Constitution of India, in Constitution of India, provision was written in Article 246 in schedule list 1 that manufacturing of goods, on that central government can levy excise duty. Once it comes for trading, then it was the subject matter of state government. State government used to levy VAT. And the municipality was empowered to levy entry tax when in municipality limit any goods used to enter. So municipality used to levy when any goods used to enter in the boundary of the municipality. Okay. So multiple taxes, cascading effect. Cascading effect means tax on tax, because remember, it is like different countries. Central government say this is my revenue. State government say this is my revenue, and local body municipality used to say this is my revenue. They were having the separate department, tax department, to do the assessment, registration, various other things. Okay, central government tax department, separate department. They have nothing to do with the state government tax department, and state government department tax department nothing to do with the local body tax department or the central government tax department. So one businessman need to satisfy everyone. Different assessment, different registration, different due date, multiple taxes. So businessmen would like to do the business, but rather than business, he or she was busy in doing the compliances. So that's why India was lagging behind compared to other countries. You have to simplify your taxes. You have to simplify your taxes so that the business community focus on the business rather than doing the tax compliances. So this was related to goods. Now what was happening with the services? Services was subject to service tax, and only central government was empowered under the Constitution of India to levy service tax. So there was a mismatch. Why? Because state government cannot levy, municipality cannot levy. Remember, each government has separate P&L. Central government has separate P&L, profit and loss account. Why I am using the term profit and loss account? Because you people are familiar with this term. So central government P&L, they have obligation, so they have to incur the expenses. So they need income. So one of the income is basically indirect taxes. So these people have separate P&L. Central government has separate P&L. Each state has separate P&L, and municipality also has separate P&L. So if you have to incur the expenses, you need income. Without income, you cannot incur the expenses. So services used to be only subject matter of central government. So Constitution of India used to empower only central government to levy taxes on services to central government. So there was a problem between the central government and state government, because state government was not getting anything from the services. Although they were getting some share from central government, but they were not allowed to levy any taxes on the services. And after 1991, Indian service sector grown multifold compared to goods. So India is still not known for manufacturing of goods. It is known for service sector. So most of the GDP, the maximum GDP contribution come from service sector. So there was a gap, and state government were not happy with such gap. And businessmen was not happy because suppose Reliance Industry Limited deal in entire India. They have the branches, factory across India. Okay. So now Reliance Industry Limited need to take the registration and pay taxes to central government like excise duty. But for each state, Reliance Industry Limited need to take registration in each state and municipality also. And municipality also. So it was very difficult for any company like Reliance Industry Limited who has pan India presence. Reliance Industry Limited would like to do the business, but rather than business, they also have to take care. I mean, they cannot focus 100% on the business. They have to focus also on the taxation compliances, and that also state-wise, municipality-wise. So if any multinational company, let's say US multinational company would like to come in India, Apple would like to manufacture in India, let's say 10 years back, it was not easy task for them. So that's why Apple never came to India for manufacturing of Apple iPhone. Right now only they came. Okay, so we are going to discuss in detail why they came now, but later on. Right now we are just discussing the prior taxation before GST. So this was happening. So each tax department was different. Businessmen used to deal with all these multiple tax department. So rather than focusing on business, they were also focusing on taxation compliances, which was of course adding cost to them, and India became non-competitive. So make in India was not possible. Then what happened? So of course the secretarial level of ministry, normally the IAS cadre take the decision, okay, and signed off by ministry. So they propose, because when Vajpayee came, Vajpayee asked in 2000 to these people why India is behind. So these people said, in the secretary level and other people, they said, sir, the problem is the various taxes, indirect taxes. Central government levy, state government levy, local body levy. And each state government, they also explain, like on laptop, Rajasthan used to levy 12.5%, but Maharashtra used to levy 8% VAT. So price gap is also there because of the taxation. Because Maharashtra government has sufficient power, they can decide whatever they would like to provide for in VAT. And Rajasthan government can decide. Central government cannot even interfere. So one item, 12.5% in Rajasthan, 8% in Maharashtra, and maybe exempt in Karnataka, and maybe 4% in Tamil Nadu. So one laptop, let's say that laptop is Dell laptop, okay, and the seller charge 1 lakh rupees. Okay, so 1 lakh rupees is the fixed amount which seller is supposed to charge. Now, if suppose some buyer would like to buy in Rajasthan, tax rate of VAT is 12.5%. So the buyer has to incur 1,12,500. 1 lakh plus 12,500. So in Rajasthan, tax rate was 12.5%. If suppose another person buy in Tamil Nadu, let's say VAT rate was 4%. The same laptop is available in 1,04,000. Let's say in Karnataka it is exempt. So buyer can buy laptop in Karnataka in 1 lakh rupees. Now laptop manufacturer is same, brand is same, Dell, but different because of the different tax rate. You can see here amount which was supposed to be paid by buyer in each state. Now what is going to happen? So Dell is going to promote Karnataka. Why? Dell as a manufacturer going to promote Karnataka because in Karnataka they can generate maximum sale. Not because Dell is efficient in Karnataka. Dell laptop remains same, but here because Karnataka government exempted laptop, that's why laptop selling price is lesser compared to other state. So it is not Dell efficiency, it is because of Karnataka government. It is because of Karnataka government. So how GST is going to help us? So Vajpayee ji called all these administrative people and they asked why India is lagging behind. So they said because of the multiple taxes. So Vajpayee ji, of course, that time Prime Minister, he asked what is the solution, because this is the problem, multiple taxes, multiple government. What is the solution? So they said single tax. Entire India, one nation, one tax. What they said? One nation, one tax. Whether they were intelligent enough? No. Because the GST was implemented before India in more than 160 countries. So these people were aware that in other countries what was the practice. So that's why they said GST, GST, GST. This is the only solution to make in India possible. What is GST? One nation, one tax. One nation, one tax. So rather than central government levying, state government levying, local authorities levying, there is only going to be one levy. And there is not going to be two taxes on the basis of goods or services. One tax, GST, goods and services tax, which is going to be levied on goods as well as services. So this idea came. So this idea came in 2000. So this idea came in 2000. But GST was implemented on 1st July 2017. Wonderful. A good initiative took 16 years to implement. Why? 16 years time frame to implement GST in India. So 2000 idea came, committee was formed, okay, to implement GST, but finally it was implemented on 1st July 2017. So 16 and a half years it took to implement the GST. Why? Such a wonderful initiative took 16 and a half years. Wonderful. So anyone can any student answer why it took 16 and a half years in simple language? Okay. Can anyone answer why it took 16 and a half years to implement GST? When everyone was aware that implementing GST is good for India. So why 16 and a half years? Please answer. Absolutely correct. Political agenda. Only simple and a small answer. Political agenda. Political differences. This is the only reason GST implementation took more than 16 and a half years. No, it is not like state or not like central government. So it was completely political agenda. You are absolutely right. All about politics. So let me give you example. So Vajpayee was there. So Vajpayee said, okay, we should implement GST. After that, BJP lost the election and Congress government was there from 2004 to 2014. You know, that time Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister and he is the person who opened India in 1991. Okay. So that time he was the Finance Minister. So you see, whatever you see today, it is because of the Manmohan Singh. Okay. People don't want to give credit, but that is wrong. Because in 1991, India was about to bankrupt. But it was only because of Manmohan Singh, India was saved. This is the fact, you can check on the Google. Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to go in detail of Manmohan Singh decision and everything because that is not our subject matter right now. So in 2000, this idea came, committee was formed. In 2004, BJP lost the election, Vajpayee lost the election. Congress came into power. Congress tried their level best to implement GST. But since in India, normally what happens, if ruling party would like to do something good, opposition is there to oppose. So it is not constructive decision, constructive discussion basically. Whatever ruling party is going to do, whether good or bad, opposition is going to oppose. This is Indian democracy. So when BJP wanted to implement GST, Congress was in opposition, Congress opposed. Then Congress came into power. Congress tried their level best to implement GST. But then BJP was in opposition, BJP opposed. So idea came from BJP, but between 2004 to 2014, when Congress government was there and they wanted to implement GST, but BJP was opposing, including BJP state. Not only their central leadership, pure politics. In fact, you can find, I think you can find easily the video of our present Prime Minister Narendra Ji Modi. He is criticizing GST when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. You can find on Google, YouTube, I think. So he was also criticizing GST and he said we cannot implement GST. State is going to lose revenue. So he also opposed. Indian democracy, where decisions are not taken because those decisions are good in the interest of the common people or country. Normally decisions are taken sometime because they would to benefit someone, and opposition role is only to oppose. Ruling party doing something good, opposition role is to oppose rather than appreciating or rather than contributing in that initiative. So that's why this took so many years to implement GST in India. Everyone was aware, whether it was BJP, Congress government or any other local party, everyone was aware that GST is good for the country. But it took so many years. So finally, you can see here 2009, when Congress government was there, GST and private company was set up to provide the IT backbone for GST. So this was Congress government only did this in 2013, and finally it is implemented on 1st July 2017. Now whether GST is one nation one tax. So normally you would have heard, and in fact you would have read one nation one tax in your inter syllabus as well. But whether it is one nation one tax, that I am going to leave it to your thought process. I am going to explain various things. You need to self-realize whether it is one nation one tax or not. So GST basically is going to replace all these taxes. It is already replaced. So rather than this multiple taxation, now there is only one tax on goods and services, GST. Now only one tax is there, which is GST. So all these various form of indirect taxes subsumed in GST. Subsumed in GST. You people might be aware, you would have seen in Inter also, which are the various type of taxes which is subsumed in GST. But the idea came, it is one nation one tax. But to implement GST, all states also need to come on board. So there was compromise between the central government and state government. What was that? We are going to discuss in detail, but later on right now. First, we are going to understand what is the big gap, conceptual gap between the previous regime and the GST regime. So GST implemented after 16 years, okay. And in India, because of the federal structure, you people are aware, separate central government, state-wise different government. So to implement the GST, basically, they finally decided that GST is going to be consumption-based tax. So what is the consumption-based tax? Let's first understand this. What is consumption-based tax? Previously, what used to happen, and in GST, what is happening? But let's discuss that. So prior to GST, when we have already discussed about excise duty, VAT, service tax. So VAT used to be income of selling state. So according to the Constitution of India, selling state used to get the revenue of VAT. Let's say UP trader is selling to Rajasthan buyer, or Tamil Nadu seller is selling to Karnataka or Kerala buyer. So which government is going to get the revenue? This was the question mark. Because remember, in previous regime, indirect tax, state-wise. VAT is state-wise. So which government is going to get the revenue? If suppose Tamil Nadu seller is selling to Kerala buyer. So which government is going to get the revenue? This was the question mark. Okay, so the answer to this question is basically selling state. So in previous regime, selling state used to get the revenue. So Tamil Nadu government used to get the revenue of any particular transaction. Okay, so if seller is from Tamil Nadu, such seller is selling to buyer of Kerala, it was Tamil Nadu government revenue. Okay, so Tamil Nadu basically state revenue. So selling state used to get the revenue. Okay, so selling state used to get the revenue. Now what happened in GST? GST is basically consumption based tax. So what this means? This means basically the goods or services where it is actually consumed, that state is going to get the revenue. Which state is going to get the revenue? The goods or services where it is basically consumed, that state is going to get the revenue. Okay, what does this mean? If we take our example again, whatever we discussed, like Tamil Nadu seller selling to Kerala buyer, then in previous regime the revenue was accruing to Tamil Nadu government, but in GST it is just opposite. Now Kerala government is going to get the revenue. So now Kerala government is going to get the revenue, not Tamil Nadu. So it is just opposite. In previous regime, Tamil Nadu government used to get the revenue because selling state revenue. But in GST, it is just opposite. Now where the goods are actually consuming or services are actually consuming, that state is going to get the revenue. Means now Kerala is going to get the revenue because buyer is from Kerala. He is going to consume that goods. So it is just opposite. Just opposite. Now how this is going to impact state? Whether they need to change their planning? Of course, yes. Let me take real life example, which normally I take in my classes, so that you people can easily connect. Goa is known for what? When I say Goa, what comes to your mind? Please answer. When I say Goa, Goa is famous for what? So you people need to answer. Vacation, holiday. Okay, so correct answer. Tourism, beaches. Okay, so all of you have given correct answer. Because when I say Goa and I ask you what is it famous for, of course, in your mind, in fact, in my mind also, it is going to come tourism, beaches, vacation. Correct? You would be surprised to know that Goa has good amount of FMCG companies. FMCG means like Colgate, Palmolive, etc. Colgate, Palmolive, etc. Other companies, including SL Propec, which is G Group company, and you are also going to see edited drink factories in Goa. Why? Goa is known for beaches, correct? tourism purpose. So why someone is going to do the setup, mean setting up the factory there? Himachal Pradesh, another question. When I say Himachal Pradesh, famous for what? What comes to your mind immediately? Oh, liquor. I don't want to use that. So I just said tourism. Yes, Goa liquor is famous, and actually most of the Bombay people go to Goa because of to drink basically. Because in Goa, if I remember correctly, previously there were no taxes on liquor, so it was cheaper compared to other state. So people used to go there and just to chill, nothing else. Hilly area, hilly area. So basically, when I say Himachal Pradesh, hilly area, mountain, okay, mountain comes in our mind. Manali, Simla, okay. In summer, you can go to the hill station, correct? If suppose you are a businessman, whether when you would like to set up the factory, let's say any type of factory, manufacturing facility, let's say you would like to invest 100 crore in manufacturing, what is going to be the criteria to select any particular location? What you are going to see? Simple means simple answer give me. Suppose you would like to invest, you are the big businessman or businesswoman, 100 crore you would like to invest, okay, for setting up any manufacturing facility. On what basis, on what criteria you are going to do the setup of that factory? In which location you are going to do the setup? What criteria you are going to see to take the decision? Infrastructure. Okay. Anything else? So I got the answer. Infrastructure for business. Can anyone elaborate further? Connectivity. Okay. Resources available there. Absolutely correct. Connectivity, infrastructure. Yes. Any other answer? Easily availability of resources. Absolutely correct. So all these answers are correct. Anything else? Any other point which you would like to put? Low payment of taxes to the government, tax compliance is correct. Okay, fair enough. So basically, suppose I have 100 crore, I would like to basically do the setup of manufacturing facility. Normally, a businessman or company see the resources, infrastructure, where is the market. Okay, so these are the criteria to do the setup of manufacturing facility. Whether resources are manpower and also raw materials. So resources are not only restricted to manpower only, human being resources plus sufficient manpower, manpower available at lower cost. Okay. So if suppose more population is there in particular state, you are going to easily get the manpower. Okay. So manpower, raw material availability. So how fast you can get the raw material at cheaper rate. Logistic, you are going to see that after manufacturing, how much time transportation is going to take, whether transportation is easy or not. Market, where is the market? I mean, if suppose you are FMCG company, so you would like to go to a state or a location where maximum population is there, maximum buyer is there, so that you can get more income in lesser expenses. Correct? So ultimately it is going to increase your bottom line. Correct? Bottom line means profitability. So as a businessman, you would like to see the resources, human resources, raw material availability, logistic means transportation, supply chain management, connectivity, rightly said. Okay, and other things. So like buyer, where is your buyer? Okay, so these things you are going to keep in mind before taking decision, that this is the area, this is the location in which I would like to do the manufacturing. Correct? So Himachal Pradesh, hilly area. When I ask you Himachal Pradesh, immediately in most of the student mind, what going to come? Oh, Simla, Manali, tourism place. Correct? Hill area. Okay. If suppose you would like to do the setup of any factory there, it will be costly affair, because Himachal Pradesh density of population is very less compared to UP, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala. Right? If you compare Kerala with Himachal Pradesh, just opposite. So manpower is lesser. Raw material, few raw material may be available, but few are very difficult to get. Means if suppose you are buying from other state, let's say Bihar, minerals you would like to buy from Bihar, the transportation play important role, because reaching Himachal Pradesh in hilly area, very difficult. Transportation is going to cost you, not only in terms of amount, in terms of time also, because time is also going to be higher compared to Bihar people supplying to MP, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. Okay, because truck is going to take time. Then after manufacturing, again your buyer market may be lesser, because lesser population in Himachal Pradesh compared to UP, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, or Karnataka, any other state, Maharashtra. So why someone is going to invest basically to do the setup of factory in Himachal Pradesh? So let me take now real life example. Many pharmaceutical companies, they have set up their plant in Himachal Pradesh. I don't know whether you are aware or not, but you can see now next time when you get the tablet, see where it is manufactured, in which location the tablet is manufactured. So you are going to see that there are many manufacturing facility in Himachal Pradesh. The company headquarter may be in Hyderabad, because pharma sector is mainly in Hyderabad. Okay, Telangana. But they have the factory in Himachal Pradesh. So Himachal Pradesh is known for tourism. Goa is known for tourism. Why someone is going to invest in Himachal Pradesh? Can anyone answer? Why Dr. Reddy or any other pharma company, they did the investment in Himachal Pradesh? What may be the reason why the key management personnel took this such type of decision? Whether they are not intelligent enough or they took the wrong decision. On what basis they took the decision? Can anyone answer? Please try to answer. It may be wrong answer, but try to answer. I am still waiting for your answers. Okay, lower taxage. So let me take example. So in previous regime, what we discussed? We discussed that central government was empowered to levy excise duty on manufacturing. State government was empowered to levy VAT on trading of goods. And we also discussed that previously it was the seller state who used to get the revenue. So what was happening? Himachal Pradesh, let's say, announced for any new setup of the factory that 10 years tax holiday. So no VAT for 10 years. So one pharma company executive came to know about this. He discussed with his CFO, and CFO said, okay, if suppose we set up the factory in Tamil Nadu, let's say our manufacturing cost is 100 rupees. Okay, our manufacturing cost is 100 rupees. We are going to take 10% margin, so 10 rupees. So in 110 we are going to sell. 110 we are going to sell. On that sale, let's assume that Tamil Nadu levy 10% VAT. For simplicity, I am using 10 percentage. Okay, 10 because it is simple to calculate. Just to explain you. So let's say VAT rate was 10%. Okay, ignore excise duty, just VAT. So this manufacturer used to sell at 121, and this pharma manufacturer used to get 10 rupees profit. This was his margin, this was the cost. Now we suppose top management of this company, pharma company, decide that let set up the manufacturing in Himachal Pradesh. So cost is going to increase because let's say manpower, they have to pay higher wages to manpower. Raw material cost is going to be higher, okay, because of the transportation and other factor. So the manufacturing cost of the said material is 105. So 5 rupees they are supposed to pay extra. They have to incur extra if they do the setup of the factory in Himachal Pradesh rather than in Tamil Nadu. Profit, they would like to keep it same, 10, 115. So if the same amount of taxes is there, let's say 11.5, then finally they are going to end up at 126 rupees 50 paisa. Assume that same 10% is there. So whether, if suppose you are top management of that particular pharma company, whether you are going to do the setup of factory in Himachal Pradesh, the answer is absolutely no. You're going to say that this is going to be the stupid decision. Why? Simple. I have to incur higher cost if I do the setup of factory in Himachal Pradesh, manufacturing facility in the Himachal Pradesh. But what happen if suppose, what is going to be your decision if Himachal Pradesh government communicate to you through order that in case if you do the setup of the factory, we are going to exempt, we are going to give you tax holiday for 20 years. So no taxes, no VAT for 20 years. Whether Himachal Pradesh government was having such power? Yes, under the Constitution of India before implementation of GST. So to implement the GST, constitutional provision was amended, but before that, state government was empowered. So state government was empowered. So state government issued the order 20 year tax holiday. Now, no such taxes. So you are going to sell the product in 115. So now if suppose you are part of top management, so now the situation changes, and even though your cost is higher in Himachal Pradesh, even your cost is higher, there is no market in Himachal Pradesh, or there is a less market in Himachal Pradesh, you are going to end up setting up the manufacturing facility in Himachal Pradesh. You took the decision not because of the cost efficiency. You took the decision because of the tax efficiency, because there is no taxes in Himachal Pradesh, but in Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, you have to pay the taxes. So from company point of view, this is correct decision, but from the country perspective, this is wrong decision. Why? Because you are going to end up at higher manufacturing cost, and when you would like to do the export, remember in export you have to compete globally. You have to compete globally. There is China, there are other countries. So exporter need to compete globally. And then come into the picture pricing. And now pricing is based on your cost. So your cost is higher, and in case of export, you are going to see that because most of the countries, including India, encourage the export. So there is no taxes on export. You are going to understand in these classes also. So most of the countries encourage the export. So that's why they don't levy the taxes on export. So you did the setup of manufacturing facility in Himachal Pradesh because you were saving on taxes. You would like to do the export, but you are not going to get the export order because there are no taxes in case of export. So if suppose you would have done setup of the factory in Tamil Nadu, then your selling price was 110, but in case of Himachal Pradesh, because of the higher cost, 115. So the buyer, the importer, let's say US importer would like to import, Chinese manufacturer is there, Indian manufacturer is there. So that US importer is going to give, US buyer is going to give the order to Chinese manufacturer, not Indian manufacturer. Why? Because Indian manufacturer selling price is higher for the same product. And why it is higher? Because factory was set up in Himachal Pradesh where the cost was higher because of the resources. So in fact this decision was correct. I am not challenging the decision, but now circumstances differ. So domestic you are good enough, but in case of international trade you are getting the beating. So not only manufacturer is going to get the beating, basically India as a country is going to get the beating because export is going to be lesser. So make in India not possible. Make in India not possible. Correct? Why this was happening? Because it was seller state revenue. So that's why state used to attract more and more investment, and they used to say, oh, let them do the setup of the plant. We are not going to charge any taxes, but people is going to get the revenue. There are other expenses which they are going to incur, and we are going to get the revenue. So indirectly we are going to get something by getting that factory in our state. And after 20 years, of course, once the tax holiday is complete, we are going to get the revenue. So decision was not on the basis of the efficiency, productivity. The decision was on the basis of the top management of that particular pharma company. Let's say if you are the top management, you took the decision because of the tax efficiency rather than the productivity. So I am not saying your decision is wrong, but if you think from the country perspective or from the export perspective, India lost the opportunity. Am I right? So India lost the opportunity because of such type of decision. So India was suffering not only because of these multiple taxes, but because of such type of decision. Everyone has the core area. Like one student love accounts, another student love tax. One is expert in cricket, another one is expert in football. Everyone is different. Everyone has the core area. Goa, Himachal Pradesh, known for tourism. If someone give me option, you would like to go to Tamil Nadu, not Kerala, because Kerala has lot of tourist destination. Tamil Nadu also has like Kodaikanal, Uti, Yerkad, etc. But anyway, so if someone give me option Goa, Himachal Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, I am going to prefer Goa or Himachal Pradesh rather than Tamil Nadu. This is the fact, correct? But again, depends on individual. So maybe someone would like to go to Tamil Nadu. Okay, let him go or let her go. Because in previous regime it was seller state revenue. That's why they used to give the tax holiday. But in GST now, the picture is just opposite. Now it is consumption based tax, means the consuming state is going to get the revenue. So Himachal Pradesh offering any tax rebate is not going to help Himachal Pradesh, because Himachal Pradesh, this is not Himachal Pradesh revenue. Now this is revenue of that particular state where the goods or services are actually consumed. So GST is just opposite of previous tax law. So GST is basically consumption based tax. So consumption based tax is where the revenue is going to accrue to the state where goods or services are ultimately consumed. Okay, since GST is one nation, one tax, that I leave it to your discretion whether it is one nation or one tax or not. Right now, no need to decide. Once we discuss the various provisions, then decide in your mind itself whether it is one nation, one tax or not. So basically, one nation, one tax, GST. GST consumption based tax. So whether it is one nation, one tax, what is GST, IGST, now we are going to discuss. Before that, if any doubt, feel free to ask me. Feel free to ask me if you people have any doubt. Before I explain you the body of GST, overall structure of GST, what was the logic behind that? That also I am going to explain you. Any doubt? Feel free to ask any doubt. Whatever we discuss, doubt related to topic. And if you people don't have doubt, just put in the chat window, no doubt. Okay, so no doubt. So can anyone answer me if you don't have doubt? Whether the excise duty, VAT, they are repealed, they are no more, or still they still exist? Can anyone answer? Whether excise duty, general knowledge question, huh? Till now general knowledge question, whether excise duty and VAT are gone or they are still levied on certain items. If they exist, so answer I got yes, they exist. So they exist, they are levied on what? They are levied on what? When there is a GST, now GST is already there from 1st July 2017. So why excise duty and VAT are there? Okay. Petroleum items, liquor, they are levied. Correct answer. Okay. Petroleum items, liquor, correct. Absolutely correct answer. But why petroleum? I am going to keep asking you questions so that the classes are interactive and you enjoy. You are able to connect with the real life, and there is no doubt at all. So tell me, why GST was not introduced on petroleum product liquor? In fact, Rahul Gandhi normally in his speech tell, once the Congress government come into the power, we are going to include petroleum product in GST. Why petroleum product and liquor? These items are not there in GST. What is the logic behind this? Is there any logic or there is no logic at all? State power, politics. Correct. State power, politics play a very important role. But I differ. Although state power, politics may be correct answer, but my opinion is different in this matter. Why? Normally, common people think, common people like you and me, aam aadmi, in Hindi, aam aadmi, common people think that that political class, they are stupid, they are foolish. We are more smarter than political class. But I am going to prove you people when we are going to discuss GST various provision, that political class, they are very smart compared to common people when question come of revenue. When question come of revenue, then these political class, which we think they are stupid people or we are more intelligent compared to them, we are wrong more than 100%. They are very intelligent when it come to revenue. They know how to do the business. They know how to do the business. So when GST discussion was happening between the central government, state government of course did not want to lose the power, because in previous regime, according to the Constitution of India, state was having sufficient power to states. Constitution of India used to empower the state government to levy taxes. So in case there is a shortfall of revenue, they can easily increase the tax rate or they can exempt some items. So entire power was with the particular state government, respective state government. But in GST regime, when we are talking about one nation, one tax, so Rajasthan government cannot decide, oh, we would like to increase the tax on particular laptop, because now one nation, one tax. So the tax rate is going to be the same across India. So Rajasthan government can't decide standalone basis. Tamil Nadu government can't decide. Telangana can't decide. Andhra Pradesh can't decide. Kerala can't decide. So if tax rate need to be increased or something need to be exempted, it is going to be at India level. So all states are going to lose their respective power. So that's why they were not compatible. I said to you earlier that each state central government, they have different P&A, profit and loss account. So they have different set of responsibility, and for fulfilling that responsibility, they need revenue. And one source of revenue is indirect taxation. So they said, why we are going to implement GST? We are going to lose power. Today, if suppose there is a shortfall or I would like to exempt some item because election is going to come, so I would like to reduce the tax rate on the petrol because election is there, so that I can come back to the power. So I am the person who is going to decide about my state. No one would like to lose power, correct? Everyone want power, correct or right? Correct or wrong? Everyone want power, 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 power. I should not be asked question from anyone age. Hitler, correct? So they said, why I am going to say yes to GST. Today I am the person who is going to decide what to do about the VAT tax rate. Why I am going to say yes to GST where I don't have power? I have to go by the majority decision. So they said, no, no, not at all. We are not going to implement GST. Because it is our revenue, we need to decide. So central government started discussion with state. Okay, so they started discussion with state. And central governments, basically when they started discussion, that time state government, as I said earlier, political class is very smart. So they said, okay, we are okay with the GST. We are okay to implement GST in India. But kintu parantu. Our total revenue today, let's say, I'm talking about, let's create one fiction. In 2016, one particular state said, see, there are thousands of items, goods and services, thousands or lakhs of items. So today, I get 100 rupees revenue in 2016. I am taking one example, okay, hypothetical example. So my tax revenue is 100. That 100 rupees I get levying taxes, various taxes, luxury tax, because you might be aware that various taxes are subsumed, like luxury tax, entertainment tax, वगैरह वगैरह, etc. So they said, okay, 100 rupees is my revenue in 2016. You are BJP government in central, let's say one state which is not ruled by BJP government. That government said, you are BJP government, I can't trust you. Today my revenue is 100 rupees. I want this revenue, minimum this revenue plus year on year increase. So central government said how we can give guarantee. So state government said no, then I am not okay with GST. I am okay with VAT. Years, since years, decades, it is going on, and I am comfortable because I am the person who is going to take the decision about that taxation. Why should I lose power? Of course, no. So I am not going to say yes to GST. I understand this is good for the country, but it is not good for my state. It is good for India, but it is not good for my state. I am not going to say yes. So then central government said, okay, can you tell me what is your breakup on various items? Tax collection, goods wise. So then state government figured it out that basically 50% revenue, they get 50, the weightage, I am just taking example, maybe in other state it may be 45%, or in some third state it may be 40%, or in some Goa like state 60% maybe. So my 50% revenue come from petroleum product, 5 petroleum product like petrol, diesel, aviation, turbine fuel. Okay, so these 5 products contribute 50% of revenue along with alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So out of 100 rupees, 50 rupees come from 6 items. Those 6 items are 5 petroleum product, and 1 alcoholic liquor from human consumption. So I am not comfortable if these items come within the purview of GST. So I am okay with GST, state government said to the central government. I am okay with GST if these 6 items are kept out from GST and business as usual, status quo. No changes. Whatever was happening before is going to happen after implementation of GST, means these 6 items are subject to excise duty. So on alcoholic liquor for human consumption, there is a state excise duty, not central excise duty, state excise duty and VAT. And in case of 5 petroleum product, excise duty, central government excise duty plus VAT. So they applied whatever you read in the audit principle, materiality. You would have understood principle of materiality. So they applied that. Why to focus on thousands item? Let keep out these 6 items which contribute 50% of my revenue. So status quo, these 6 items are not going to come within the purview of GST. Rest of the item you include. Now see the smartness of the state government. You people were thinking that they are not smart people. Now see the smartness. Only 6 items they would like to exclude from the GST purview, so that 50% their revenue, no impact on that revenue. So 50% revenue, no impact because status quo. These 6 items are not going to come within the purview of GST. So finally you people are aware that these 6 items are outside the purview of GST. Okay, we are going to discuss in detail about these 6 items because this is going to come again and again. Right now I am just explaining you the logic behind this. Okay, so in this class I am not going to discuss in detail about this. So 6 items are kept out of GST. Apart from that, now again the state government, which people think they are stupid people, political class, lesser educated, 7th class fail, 6th class fail, they are very smart when it comes to real business. So they say, okay, 50% status quo, rest 50% you give me the guarantee. Now central government say, what guarantee? What guarantee? Central government say. They said, see, basically I am not aware after GST implementation how much I am going to lose, because now you are changing from seller state to consumption based tax. GST is consumption based tax. So I am not aware what revenue is going to be there. So I need guarantee from you. So to implement GST, finally government also agreed that 50% on 6th item, which basically weightage average, no change, and rest of the 50% government said, okay, I am going to give you guarantee for 5 years. What guarantee? That in case of shortfall of revenue, I am going to compensate you. I am going to compensate you in case of shortfall of revenue. So 50%, 100 rupees was your revenue in 2016. Out of 100, 50% status quo, no changes. You are only going to levy taxes. So of course it is not going to come within the purview of GST. So I am not answerable. For rest 50 rupees, in case if there is a shortfall, let's say in 2017 you earn, 2018 you earn only 45 rupees. So I am going to give you 5 rupees. So in 2022, if suppose you earn 52 rupees, that is your revenue. If you get extra, that is okay. You are not supposed to give me back. But in case of shortfall of revenue compared to base year, I am going to compensate you. But central government is also not going to compensate from its pocket. So they said, okay, to fund this compensation, I am going to give you 5 years guarantee to each state in case of shortfall of revenue after implementation of GST. I am going to compensate. So I am going to levy compensation cess. So apart from GST, there is going to be compensation cess, so that funding can be arranged in case of shortfall of revenue. I am going to use this kitty to compensate state. So compensation cess was introduced along with GST. So now coming back to the GST, so when they wanted to implement GST, they discussed what is going to be the form of GST. So there are various forms. So they studied other countries. So in other countries there are, let's say, national tax, or you can say single levy. Okay, then national tax, state tax, where state-wise tax was there, and third one was dual tax. So in national tax, in whichever country it is implemented, what happened, because in more than 160 countries GST is already implemented before it was implemented in India. So these people had seen various model of the various countries. The national tax, where central government levy the taxes and central government only collect the taxes and then distribute to particular state or province on decided formula. Province, like we use the term state, in some of the countries province term has been used. Okay, so the normal those countries use the province. So it is like state only. So in our country, in India, we use the state. In other countries, in few countries, they use province. Okay. So in national tax, basically central government is going to collect entire GST, and on prefix formula, central government after collection is going to distribute to respective state and or province. So this was the first method of implementing GST. Another method, in few countries, it is state or province. They levy the taxes, they retain their amount, and they give share of central government to central government. So here state is going to collect entire amount of tax, state or province, and they are going to keep their share, and whatever pertaining to central government they are going to give it. Okay. So in first one, national tax, central government used to levy, keep their share, and share pertaining to whatever percentage they decided for state province they are going to give it. But in another form, state government or province used to collect, they are collecting, not used to, it is happening right now also in various countries, and they are going to keep their share and give it to central government share they are going to give. Okay. In dual tax, which is basically followed by Brazil and Canada, okay, this system prevail. So in dual tax, central government collects their share and state government collect their share. So finally in GST, at the time of implementation of GST, government decided, central government, state government, that in India we are going to implement dual taxes, dual form of GST. Basically on each transaction, central government is going to levy tax, as well as particular state government is going to levy taxes. So in India, dual tax form of GST has been implemented. Why? Very simple reason. If suppose we go by this, if we go by the first national tax, means where the central government levy and collect the tax, whether state government is going to trust central government, the answer is no. They are going to say, oh, you or levy, you collect and give our share. We are not beggar. The opposition state government is not going to trust central government. They are going to say, no, 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 we cannot trust you. We are not beggar. We are going to keep on asking you fund, and you collected, but you are not going to give us on time, because you are going to say, I don't have the bank balance, so we can't trust you. Then discussion happened on state tax. Now central government said, no, like you don't trust me, I am not going to trust you. So I am not going to become beggar and going to ask you, give me my fund to each state. No, 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 not at all. So you don't trust me, I don't trust you. So there is a mistrust between central government and state government. So finally they said, okay, Mandoli, in Maharashtra the term used Mandoli, compromise formula, dual tax, Brazil and Canada, very good. You levy your tax, I levy my tax. Dual tax. So on each transaction, central government is going to levy central tax and state government is going to levy state tax. So GST structure. CGST, central government tax. So this is the revenue of central government. HGST, respective state. Okay. So state government, respective state. Okay. So because there are various states in India. So Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Goa. Okay. Various states. So each state is going to levy HGST. Okay. So on each transaction, whether it is of goods or services, GST is going to levy. So this is going to be the revenue of central government, and on that particular transaction, SGST is also going to be levied. That is revenue of that respective state government. Okay. So on each transaction, CGST is going to be levied and as well as SGST is going to levied. So this is going to be the revenue of that respective state. So there is a state-wise SGST law. Why state-wise? Because there are various states. So that's why state-wise GST law is there. Okay. So multiple SGST Act. So CGST to levy is CGST, Central Government Revenue, CGST Act. To levy state tax SGST, state-wise SGST Act. Then come the Union Territory, correct? Union Territory, if you remember, Andaman, Nicobar, Daman. So those are not state. Those are Union Territory, correct? Union Territory, correct? So for Union Territory, they said, okay. Then there is not going to be SGST Act. So SGST is going to be replaced by UTGST. Now remember, Union Territory come under the control of central government. There is a LG. So they appoint LG, na? Okay. So Union Territory come under central government, so UTGST Act. So CGST Act, state-wise SGST Act, then UTGST Act in case transaction is there within the Union Territory, then UTGST, CGST plus UTGST is going to be levied. So let's say you bought 100 rupees butter. You bought 100 rupees butter. Butter is subject to 5% GST. Butter is subject to 5% GST. So let's say seller consideration is 100 rupees. So 5% GST. So they decided the farmer that 50% revenue of central government and 50% of state government. So in case you buy the butter in Tamil Nadu, then 5% is the GST rate. So 2.5% is going to be CGST and 2.5% is going to be the Tamil Nadu SGST. Okay, so central government revenue 2.5 rupees on this butter and 2.5 rupees butter is of Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu SGST. But if suppose rather than buying in Tamil Nadu, you are buying in Andaman and Nicobar or Lakshadweep. So this Tamil Nadu SGST is going to be replaced with UTGST. 2.5%, but then now in this transaction, CGST plus UTGST is going to be charged, levied. Okay. So this is going to be in case of inter-state. What is the meaning of inter-state? Within the state. Buyer, seller. Right now I am using the term buyer and seller. Once we understand the supply, which is the taxable event, I am going to shift the term to buyer and seller, because right now you are familiar with buyer and seller. Correct? Then I am going to shift the term, this buyer and seller, to recipient and supplier. But once we understand the taxable event, supply. Right now I am going to use buyer and seller only to explain you. Okay? Because that is the normal daily basis term. In daily life we use this term only. So if buyer and seller are in the same state, then interstate transaction. So that time CGST, central government revenue, SGST, state government revenue. In case of UTGST, Union Territory, UTGST is going to replace that particular state SGST. But what is going to happen in case if it is interstate? Interstate means from one state to another state, or from one Union Territory to another state, or from one Union Territory to another Union Territory. Then what is going to happen? Because here the transaction was very simple, that Tamil Nadu SGST is levied and Tamil Nadu government get the revenue. But if the same butter had been sold from Tamil Nadu seller to Kerala buyer, now we know that because this butter is going to be consumed in Kerala, so that's why Kerala government revenue should be there. Yani means Kerala HGST. It means Kerala HGST. But the seller is in Tamil Nadu. So now whether he is supposed to take registration in Kerala also, or how he is going to pay to the Kerala state government, because the revenue now accrue to Kerala. So seller is in Tamil Nadu, but the buyer is in Kerala, and buyer is consuming that butter in Kerala itself. So we know GST is consumption based tax. GST is consumption based tax. It means revenue should accrue to whom? Kerala. Because the Kerala state, in Kerala state, that consumer, the buyer is going to consume the butter. But how the Tamil Nadu seller is going to pay that particular tax amount to Kerala? So it is going to be difficult for him. And whether, if suppose he pay to Tamil Nadu government, whether Kerala government trust Tamil Nadu? To completely mistrust. Not only between the central government and state government, between these state government also. So how it is going to be settled? Then they said, okay, in case interstate, rather than CGST plus HGST or UTGST, it is going to be IGST, integrated GST. So rather than 2.5% of GST, CGST, 2.5% of HGST or UTGST in our example, 5% IGST is going to be levied. 5% IGST is going to be levied, and IGST is going to be collected by whom? Central government. Now here they can trust central government. Rather than Kerala government trusting Tamil Nadu, they said no, it's better to trust central government. Okay. So central government, because rather than collecting from various state government, there may be multiple transactions. One seller is in Tamil Nadu, another transaction seller is in Maharashtra. So rather than multiple states, let only one central government. So central government in case of interstate is going to collect IGST. Article 246A of Constitution of India and Article 269A has relevant provision related to this interstate trade. You would have read previously also. So, in case of interstate, CGST and HGST, rather than that, IGST is going to be levied. So, IGST is going to be the sum total of CGST plus HGST or UTGST. So if tax rate is 5%, so 5% IGST, then it is going to be 2.5% CGST, 2.5% HGST or UTGST. Okay. So when interstate transaction is there, as I explained earlier, CGST along with CGST, HGST or UTGST is going to be levied. So CGST revenue directly go to the P&L of central government. It is directly revenue of central government, P&L. So it will directly go to P&L of central government, and this is going to be directly to the respective state government P&L. But in case of interstate, so central government is going to collect the revenue as a custodian. Trustee, custodian, fiduciary capacity, you would have read. So central government is going to collect this revenue as a custodian, trustee, fiduciary capacity. Okay, so they are going to collect. So it is basically balance sheet item. Now see, you need to connect with your accounting knowledge. Balance sheet item, when CGST, HGST are levied, they are directly P&L item. CGST central government revenue, HGST respective state government revenue, but IGST central government need to settle. It is not 100% their revenue. So that's why it is balance sheet item. Okay, they are going to collect, levy and collect as a trustee. Correct? Custodian. Custodian is not the owner. Remember, custodian is not the owner. Fiduciary capacity. You would have read earlier in other subject. correct? Contract Act, वगैरह वगैरह. So central government is going to collect, park this into balance sheet. Then 50% share there pertaining to them. So 50% they are going to move to their P&L, central government P&L. Okay, after collecting IGST, okay, central government P&L, and 50% remaining they are going to give it to respective state government where the goods or services are actually consumed. So Tamil Nadu, our example, coming back to our example, Tamil Nadu seller selling butter to Kerala buyer. So CGST plus Kerala SGST. Rather than that, Tamil Nadu seller is going to levy IGST, going to pay to the central government. Then central government is going to keep 50%. Okay, they are going to transfer this fund to their P&L, and 50% they are going to transfer to Kerala. So they are going to collect from the Tamil Nadu seller, and they are going to transfer 50% that tax to Kerala state government. So here come into the picture. First we discuss CGST, then statewide HGST. Remember, statewide. Then Andaman, Nicobar, these are the Union Territory UTGST. So CGST Act, HGST Act, UTGST Act to levy CGST, HGST and UTGST. This is statewide, remember, HGST. Then for interstate come into picture IGST Act. Okay. So for interstate, CGST plus HGST or UTGST, for interstate IGST. And then we discuss central government has given guarantee, but central government, no government has the sufficient money. So that's why, because they have given guarantee, they have promised to the state government, there is a compensation cess. So goods and services compensation to state act. Okay, to levy compensation cess. So there are 5 act body of GST law. Central Goods and Service Tax Act, going to be levied in case of interstate supply. So interstate sell, right now I am using the term interstate sell because you people are familiar with sell and purchase term. UTGST, statewide HGST Act, statewide HGST Act. Then in case of interstate, IGST. Okay, and then goods and service tax compensation to state act compensation cess, which are on limited item. So these are the act in GST. What is the logic behind that? I already explained you. Any doubt till now? Any doubt till now? Okay, so no doubt. So this is the body of GST law. So there are basically 5 acts, but remember, statewide HGST. Now statewide is there, then there is a question come in natural in mind. Sir, state government is going to pass. State government is going to pass. Then again they can play. They can play. So if they can play, then again there is possibility of one nation one tax go on toss. So that's why basically state HGST respective state law, this is basically copy paste of CGST Act. So CGST Act has all the provisions, assessment, वगैरह वगैरह, etc. Assessment, registration, all taxable event, charging section, all these provisions are there in CGST. HGST is basically copy paste of CGST, and UTGST also copy paste. So there is no differences, much difference, but few differences are there which we are going to discuss later. Okay, so mainly HGST and UTGST, these are copy paste of CGST. IGST is there to levy IGST and to also determine place of supply. So most of the place of supply sections provisions are in IGST Act. Okay, so IGST is very small, bare act, basically 20 pages only. Okay, so I already explained you that IGST equal to CGST and HGST rate. Now let's discuss about the various tax rate. So compensation says, by the way, is on limited item like pan masala, tobacco. Tobacco is subject to dual taxation. Tobacco is subject to excise duty as well as GST. So tobacco product is subject to dual taxation. Remember, in case any question come, keep this in mind. Tobacco is subject to dual taxation, excise duty as well as GST. ATF and other petroleum product, they are subject to excise duty, central excise duty plus VAT. But alcoholic liquor for human consumption is subject to state excise duty plus VAT. I am just explaining you only for your general knowledge. Okay. So GST rate is basically, there are mainly four rates. So most of the goods or services are within 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. So most of the goods or services are classified between these tax rate. One is nil also, of course no exempt basically. So nil, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. So 5% when I say tax rate, so this is IGST tax rate. So 2.5% CGST, 2.5% HGST. In case tax rate is 12%, then 6% CGST, 6% HGST or UTGST, 18%, 9% CGST and 9% HGST or UTGST, 28%, which is the maximum tax rate, tax bracket basically, 14% CGST, 14% HGST or UTGST. So these are the most of the goods or tax services are classified under these tax law. But there are specific tax rate also, like domestic tariff area supplier supplying to merchant exporter. Now what is merchant exporter, we are going to discuss in detail when I am going to explain you export provision. So we are going to see there. So they have the specific tax rate of 0.1% domestic tariff per supplier supplying to merchant exporter. We are going to discuss in detail. Don't worry about this. So right now, keep this topic, park it, okay, wherever you would like to. We are going to discuss in detail. Then rough diamond 0.25%. Diamond luxury item 0.25% lesser tax. On necessity item, on medical services higher tax rate, but on rough diamond lesser tax rate. Gold and jewelry 3%, 3%, 3%. Luxury items are subject to lesser tax and GST. Necessity items are subject to higher tax. Oh sir, you are critic of the government. What can I do? You common people buy, poor people mainly BPL, they buy necessity item and those are subject to higher tax rate. Healthcare subject to higher tax rate. Okay. So anyway, these are the tax bracket. Okay, so CGST is going to accrue to central government, HGST is going to accrue to state government, UTGST going to accrue to central government only because it come under the administration of the central government. Okay, IGST interstate transaction is there, then IGST is going to be levied. 50% of IGST is going to accrue to central government. Central government is only going to collect 100%. Out of that, 50% they are going to keep, and 50% they are going to give it to respective state government. Okay. Now the question come, sir, you said there are various tax. So whether one SSE is supposed to deal with various tax authority. So what they have done when they implemented GST, they decided that the lower tax liability people is going to come. So on the PAN permanent account number which is issued under income tax, they decided that these PAN are subject to state tax officer and other PANs are subject to central tax officer. Remember, in previous tax law there was separate tax department. So state government employee for taking care of VAT, central government employee to take care of excise duty service tax. You cannot fire them. So what they have done, they segregated the responsibility registration number wise, that these businessmen GST registration number, state tax department is going to do the assessment and other central government. Okay, so central government tax department staff are continuing. Now they have given role of GST officers, and state government VAT department also continue. So they are not fired. In government job, difficult to fire, whether these people perform or not. And you know, one of the, I would like to share one incident with you people. One of the GST officers said to me, when GST implemented, I was CFO of one company. Okay, so one power company. So he said to me, that time I was in charge of GST implementation. So he said to me, sir, if we perform well, if we are efficient enough, I am going to get 5,000 rupees plus one certificate in government sector. Okay, so if I am going to do very good, I am going to get 5,000 rupees as a incentive plus the certificate of appreciation. And depend on my work, actually I am not going to get the promotion. Depend on my good work. It is unlike private sector. So why should I perform? For 365 days I am going to work for that 5,000 rupees plus certificate. Absolutely no. Let me enjoy. Let me not to be a efficient employee. So this is government sector. In private sector, if you do good job, you are going to be promoted. But in government sector, completely no. Okay, so this is also the main reason you would have come across such type of government employee. In fact, most of the government employees are like this only. Okay, so basically they decided role between them, that these are going to be taken care by state government tax department. This they are going to take care central government tax department. So no dual control. So one SSE is not supposed to go to both the department. Okay, separate department. Central excise duty is going to be continued to be levied on petroleum products. So 5 petroleum products: petroleum crude, high speed diesel, motor spirit, which is basically called as a petrol, natural gas and ATF. So these are for the time being outside the purview of GST. Okay, and we are going to see later on in the provision that these can be brought into the GST. We are going to discuss when we discuss charging provision. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption, by the way, permanently outside the purview of GST, because in constitution provision you would have read that it is permanently outside the purview of GST until unless there is a amendment carried out in the Constitution of India. So alcoholic liquor for human consumption is subject to state excise duty plus VAT. Tobacco is subject to excise duty plus GST, as I said, dual taxation. Now distinction between goods and services are reduced. because there is only one tax, GST on goods as well as services. But there are separate provision which is related to place of supply and time of supply. Okay, so goods and services need to be classified even though there is only one tax, GST, which is going to be levied on goods as well as services. We have to classify any particular transaction between the supply of goods and supply of services. Why? Because there is a separate provision for time of supply and place of supply. We are going to discuss later in detail why there is a logic, why there was requirement of the separate provision for place of supply and time of supply, which we are going to discuss this later. Okay. Now checkposts at the state border have been abolished. However, road check to check EVA bills have been introduced. So this also we are going to discuss later. Now hub and spoke approach is possible. Well, what is this hub and spoke procedure? Previously, what used to happen in previous regime, previous indirect tax regime, what used to happen that each state government was having VAT, and in case of interstate there was a tax called CST, central sell tax. So this used to be levied by central government but was revenue of the seller state. Now this was the cost. There was no input tax credit available of CST. Okay. So what used to happen? The manufacturer used to have the warehouses in each state. So they used to do the branch transfer. So let's say Vedanta, you know the Vedanta company. Vedanta is copper supplier. Okay. Copper supplier. So let's say Vedanta supply copper. So Vedanta manufacture in Gujarat. Now Vedanta company, Vedanta Limited, has client across India. Okay, Vedanta Limited. Anil Agarwal, the owner is Anil Agarwal. So promoter basically you can say. So Vedanta supply copper across India, sell copper across India. So Vedanta factory is in Gujarat. So if suppose Vedanta sell from Gujarat to Kerala, so it was subject to CST previously. Then CST used to be levied at the rate of 2% and no input tax credit. So the for buyer, Kerala buyer, it was cost. So 100 rupees plus 2% CST. So his expense was, the Kerala buyer was not 100, 102. Because CST there was no input tax credit. So buyer used to tell, no, I will buy locally only from Kerala supplier only because I am going to get the input tax credit of whatever VAT I paid, value added tax. So that's why what Vedanta used to do, Vedanta used to have the warehouses in each state. So that Vedanta Gujarat is going to transfer to, branch transfer to Kerala, so that no taxes, and one Kerala branch sell it to Kerala buyer, no CST. It was VAT, local sell, so VAT, and VAT was input tax credit available. So no CST, so basically no additional cost. So that's why what used to happen previously, Vedanta used to have warehouses state in each state where there was buyer to avoid CST. Because of this inefficiency generated, now state-wide warehouses. So of course for each warehouse there is a rental, there is a staff salary, etc. Now after implementation of GST, there is no CST, seamless availability of input tax credit is there. So Vedanta, what Vedanta did, they said we are closing down few warehouses, we are going to supply directly from here. So previously, like when we used to buy, when I was CFO in one country, in one company, so the factory was in Pune. So Vedanta used to supply from here, let's say, or Tutricon from Tutricon, which is in Tamil Nadu. So they were having warehouse in Maharashtra, so that there is no CST. So we got the email from Vedanta that we are going to closing down the Maharashtra warehouse. You choose whether we should supply from Silvassa factory or Tutricon from Tamil Nadu. So of course we have chosen Silvassa because Silvassa was nearby. It was only 300 kilometers. So the copper can come within 6 hours. Okay. So they closed down the warehouse of Maharashtra because it was there only because of to save or to avoid CST. That was the cause, because input tax credit was not available of CST. So there was no requirement. So now they saved on what? Rental, staff, and in each warehouse you also need to keep the goods reorder level, remember, minimum quantity. So they saved everything. So closing stock, basically stock in hand, came down drastically after implementation of GST. So hub and bespoke approach, basically you can decide the strategic location from where you are going to supply, which was not possible in previous region. So this is just technical, just for your general knowledge, not important from, it is not in your syllabus from exam point of view. I am just trying to explain you what happened practically. Now body of GST law. So before I take this topic, in fact I am going to take this topic in next lecture. You ask me if any doubt, whatever we discussed today, if you have any doubt, do let me know. Any doubt, feel free to ask. Be shameless in asking doubt. No doubt? Okay, so I am ending this class here. Okay, today you don't need to, I believe, do revision. No need to do that, because it was just discussion of basic concept and basic logic related to GST. In next section, we are going to discuss body of GST law and other topics. Okay, so thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much.